Good morning from Port Harcourt. So this is the last business trip I do before I come back to the US. So let me wish my viewers in the United States a happy Memorial Day weekend. Usually I'll be on Alpine Beach in Sparta enjoying with my friends Peter Truzio. Before I get into the video, before I get into the meat of what I want to talk about today, I want to say thank you to Vic Campbell. He had made an incredible post on Facebook and he had told people about the last video, why you shouldn't quit and why you should continue. I also want to thank Jim Faust. Jim Faust was an early supporter financially and he's part of the debts we owe. I want to thank Roger Mignot for giving suggestions on how we should do the video and make them shorter. Roger, I do this on the cuff, it's not scripted, so it's a one shot, one take, and hopefully as I get more disciplined, I'll be able to take your suggestions and make better videos. So having said that, an interesting thing happened. While I was in Abuja last week, on Thursday, a call had come in from the US, and I was asked to provide a quote to an organization. I didn't even know the name of the organization, so I prepared a quote and sent it to the individual who called me from the US. He sent me an email saying that my quote was priced higher than he had expected and they would go with the individual who had provided the original quote. My response was, obviously you put more of an emphasis on price rather than value. I wish you well. Another email comes back, or was it a WhatsApp message? I don't quite remember. And he says to me, Christopher, we've done a review, we want something that would work, so we're willing to put more money in the budget to cover what we need for solar. So could you please consult with the manager of the facility, have a discussion with him, and then design a solution that will meet their needs. I have a discussion with the manager, and he tells me about all the analysis equipment they used. There are spectrometers that analyze different metals, different compounds, and then there was an autoclave, an oven that they used to heat up the samples. So the first three items didn't consume anything near the power that they believed, and the last item consumed as much power, and it was a three-phase system. So I suggested they drop it and we'll only handle the first three items. Well, to make a long story short, I send them pricing, they have a meeting that day on it, and they called me back and asked me for my tax ID number. I'm like, wow, just like that, huh? I stood firm on what I believed, and the next response was, we are ready to make a purchase. Well, it turned out it's a federal government agency in Jos. We do not have any relationship whatsoever with the government, and I'll address that in a bit. And the government has set up a unified payment system where you go in and you register with the Federal Inland Revenue Services, and you put yourself in as someone who can bid on a job with the federal government. So now I have someone who is itching to pay me money, but I have no way of collecting the funds, and I've received about 7 phone calls on this subject, on me going and making it possible for them to pay me. So it's a very, very nice place to be, where you stood your ground, you believed in what you're able to do, and someone wants your service enough to even give you a call after business hours to make sure they can pay you. So back to government jobs. Last week when I was in Abuja, I had my sister accompany me, and I had a young man who drove me around because I wanted to have a reliable vehicle who took me, who knew Abuja, and drove me around. And all they could talk about was government contracts, government contracts, government contracts. And it seems to be that everyone wants a government contract, and while they're busy chasing government contracts, the low-hanging fruit that could give you immediate results are being ignored. I have chosen not to do government jobs, and yes, obviously that's backfiring, because now I need to be in the system to get paid like yesterday on something that they need tomorrow. So it's a very, very fine line, and it's a very, very difficult position I find myself in. So now when I get back to Lagos on Monday, I'm in Port Harcourt today. I'm staying at Juanita Suites Hotel, or as in Nigeria they say Juanita, Juanita. It's in Old GRA, Port Harcourt. And I have to do something that I didn't think I would do. I can do government jobs without going through the bidding processes. I didn't realize that was possible. And head of agencies could actually approve jobs as long as you're in the system, get you paid to get the job done. So now I have another potential job. I have a job that I've been awarded, but I don't know how to get paid on it. And I have another one that's even 100 times bigger than this one that I have been reluctant to do pricing on, that if I do pricing and they approve it, I could get paid on. So try to balance the two. Don't go looking for government contracts, but you could do jobs within the government that don't require that you go through this inflated bid process, and you could still get paid. On the last note, employees and maintaining employee morale is a challenge in Nigeria. People don't seem to have as much investment in the business you do as they should. So the hotel I'm staying in, the toilet seat was missing. They didn't have soap. The TV wouldn't work. My internet wouldn't work. And when I complained, and I've been staying at this hotel since 2014, they point to management, and they fail to realize that they themselves have as much of a stake in making this place succeed as management and the owners do. So I spent this morning giving them a pep talk and having conversations with them. And one of the things I told them was, I asked them if they know what it costs to keep a place like this open daily. And the auditor was there, the employees didn't. And I told them it costs about 350,000 naira every day to keep this place open. They had less than 12 guests last night. The weekend rate is about 26,000 naira. So if you do that math, they did not cover the cost of keeping the place open. And they've not paid salaries. I go to eat breakfast. I was the only one eating breakfast. It's a buffet. And of course, management is to blame. And if I owned this property, and based on the experiences I've had over the last couple of weeks, I'll shut it down. They say they've not been paid salaries, so of course they're not feeling any motivation to do what they need to do. They're not improving themselves. And how do you balance that? So I had a pep talk. I told them what I had done when I was down in the dumps and things I had done to make myself a little better, that they themselves could also try it. And maybe it's also something I need to do with my employees to encourage them and motivate them. You know, paying them salary is not enough, but I also need to find a way to encourage and motivate them. So if you have any suggestions or any tools that you've employed to encourage and motivate your employees, please post them in the comment below. It will be very helpful to me. I could share it with my employees, and I could share it with other employers to help motivate and encourage employees to be their best every time they do what they do. So once again, I want to thank all of you that made comments, those of you that reposted on Facebook, those of you that sent me private messages. You can't even begin to imagine how good that made me feel. And yes, I do know I have a cheering squad in Sparta and in Florida, and my siblings also who cheer me all along. I'm very, very grateful to you. The story is getting better and better and more positive. You know, this month I think was my best month sales-wise. I don't think we've hit the numbers we hit ever. And this is, if you think about it, in February I was ready to quit. It's now May, and my numbers are the best they've ever been. So could you imagine what would have happened if I had quit at the end of February like I'd felt like doing, and then missing out on the opportunities that I've found just this month alone? So thank you again. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you like what I say, give me a thumbs up. And yes, I continue to welcome suggestions on how to make these videos better. So this hotel is much better. The air conditioning is not as noisy. And as you can see, it's a nice bright room with a really big bed. My wife is not here to share with me, so I didn't get to enjoy the bed as much. Thank you. Again, it's Christopher.